So listen, when I was about 18, I was dating my now husband, Eric. I got to meet his grandmother before she died. Her name was Grandma Weidman. We still call her Grandma Weidman. So if Gavin's here, it's his great grandmother. So she was already in her 80s when I met her. So she'd already kind of slowed down quite a bit and was quite different than she was before, like slowed down. She was way more active, we'll say that, before I met her. But one memory I have about Grandma Weidman was that she was always thankful. Every time we saw her, we would, ask her, "Hey, Grandma Weidman, how you doing?" And she'd somehow or another always end up telling us how thankful she was for something or something else. I don't know. She was always thankful. So she was a Mennonite lady. For those of you who know Mennonites, having babies is kind of a big thing. You have lots of babies. And she was a Mennonite lady who could not have babies. So that was pretty painful for her. She ended up adopting 3 babies in the end. And so what I like to say is, instead of dwelling in her sadness, she kind of always came from this place of gratitude. Whenever we had family around, she looked around and realized, I would have none of this if not for these 3 babies that I adopted. And so she saw the bigger picture. Now, as a teenager, I was kind of interested in this like secret of life kind of thing, like what's the secret to life and happiness. And I was sure by watching Eric's grandmother, Grandma Weidman, that the secret to life was gratitude and thankfulness. So that is kind of where I focused my energy as a young person. Is I thought that if I was thankful and grateful, that I would have a happy life. Okay. So fast forward to now, do I still think that the secret to life is thankfulness? Well, here's what I will say. After almost 20 years of adulthood, I have recognized a few things about thankfulness and gratitude. Thankfulness is a byproduct or a reaction that comes from contentment. Satisfaction. That's what contentment means. Satisfied, right? I'm going to be so bold as to suggest that contentment is actually the path that gets you to gratitude and thankfulness. So gratitude journals, like you've probably heard of them. People are like doing thankfulness gratitude journals. They write down things they're thankful for every day. I have had a ton of these given to me as gifts over the years, and they're lovely. And I've used them over the years. It's been a big push in our culture to have this attitude of gratitude. It's not a bad thing. You've probably heard of that, right? Yeah, but here's the thing, is thankfulness won't keep you content. Contentment will keep you thankful. Okay, guys. I want you to imagine yourself standing in a field, just a wide open field. And we're going to call that field apathy. Okay? Apathy is this place of disinterest. It's a place where you lack concern for anyone, anything. You're neither happy nor you're sad about anything. You're uninterested in anything. There are no emotions. It's wide open. And this can be a pretty scary place to be. Actually, this is a place, in this place of apathy, this field that we're imagining, you are vulnerable. Vulnerability means that you're at risk. Imagine like a deer standing in a field at risk of being shot. That's vulnerability. That's you, apathetic, in this field. Can you relate to this? Have you felt apathy before? I know I have. It's not a very nice place to be. You don't really want to be there, and you definitely don't want to stick around here very long. Okay, so we're in this field of apathy. where there's like no emotions. Let's look around. To your right and to your left, there are gates. Okay, there are two gates, one on one side, one on the other. Both gates lead to a sort of enclosure. Let's call them camps, right? These camps are places where you can live, where you can settle in, you can do life. Well, those gates both have names, right? One is the gate of contentment, and one is the gate of discontentment. I believe that those two gates lead to life that is either abundant or full of suffering. Those two gates lead to a life of abundance, true life, and a life of suffering. Let that sink in for just a second. A life of suffering? Maybe you're thinking, really, Pam? Like, isn't that a little bit over the top? Well, I have seen emotional suffering, and I've experienced it. I've experienced it when I've mindlessly wandered into the wrong camp, that camp of discontentment. And I will tell you, like, it's a strange place where you wander around aimlessly, looking for purpose. This is a place where you have like self-centered blinders on. All you see is yourself, like you're walking around with a mirror in front of your face because you are all that matters in this place of discontentment. This is a place where you might find yourself lying to loved ones, people you love. This is a place where you are never happy with what you have, where you want everything, even the stuff that doesn't belong to you, even the stuff you don't need. You want it all. This is a sad place. This is a place where you're gonna find depression, anxiety, negativity, pain. You find yourself jealous. You find yourself angry, fighting with people, starting fights with people. And you find unforgiveness. And you know what, guys? In the darkest corners of this camp, you're gonna find things like impurity, lust, hate, murder, pornography, addictions. There's lots of pain here. It's all hidden in shadows. Lots of shame. It's really hard to be happy here at Camp Discontentment. And it's certainly hard to leave. It's hard to leave because the guy in charge of Camp Discontentment, he's kind of like a magician. He makes Camp Discontentment look like this really great place to be. And maybe if you're walking by, you'd be like, hey, I want to go there, right? Because look at all the pretty things, right? Camp Discontentment looks like a good place to be, but it is a pit. It is a pit that is hard to get out of. This magician that runs the place, he knows our weaknesses. He knows how to lure us in. And we all have weaknesses. We all do. And he knows that. And he uses our weaknesses to draw us in. Okay. So that was pretty depressing. But there is another way. There is another camp. Remember we talked about that Camp Contentment. Its gate name says contentment. Now, the gate to this camp, it's open, but it's a bit narrow. It's a bit tricky to get through. Like you might not go, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk through there, it's gonna be no problem. It's hard to get through, but you can get through it if you want to. And this camp, it starts by being happy with what you have. It starts with being happy with who you are, where you are, It means that you're not thinking about what other people have, where other people live or where they go or who they are. Like, you're not consumed with all of the other stuff. It starts with being happy right here, right now. Because the truth is that we have no control. We didn't control where we were born, what we look like. We didn't choose any of this, but what you do have control over is what's inside, what's going on inside of you, right? So it starts with contentment. Accept where you are, right? Okay, so let's walk through this gate of contentment. You walk into this camp and it's a little bit messy here. It's maybe not as beautiful looking from the outside. It's a little bit messy, but people here work really hard. People are real and people are different here, okay? It's not like the other camp where you see yourself only with that mirror. Remember, like we walk around only seeing self. This camp, the mirror is gone. And all of a sudden we see everyone else. We see their struggles. We see their needs. We see their ambitions. And guess what? They see you also. They see you too. They see you because they're not busy looking at themselves either. This is a place where people matter, where having good relationships with people is important. Here is where you're going to find things like compassion, self-worth, joy, grace and understanding. You're going to find forgiveness, wisdom, truth, peace. You're going to find humility and kindness and purpose and thankfulness. There's that word. You're going to find true living at this camp contentment. This camp is lit. It is pretty awesome, and I do mean it. It's lit. But I actually mean it's literally lit up. You are not going to find any dark, scary corners in this camp. In this camp, we share our lives. We share our failures. We share our secrets. There are no secrets. There is no shame here. So Camp Contentment is an odd place because they leave their gate open. It's not closed. Everybody is welcome to come into this camp here. Poor people, rich people, people of any skin color, doesn't matter what language you speak, because you know what? They're content. Remember what we talked about before? But this is a place where you might not think is great to be because of how messy it is, right? And it's kind of like a referral-based place. Referral means you gotta invite people in so they can experience it too. Okay, so that was pretty fun. Thanks for picturing those camps with me. But let's get real for a second. Those gates, contentment and discontentment, have other names as well. And maybe you've already realized that and put that together. I'm going to read from Matthew 7, verses 13 to 14. Jesus spoke these words. He says, "Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. And small is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." Well, that gate of contentment starts with Jesus. Jesus is the narrow gate. 2020 years ago, Jesus loved you so much and he loved me so much that he gave up his life on a cross to make a way for you and I to live this abundant life. It's a messy life. It's a life full of service and giving of yourself, constantly putting other people before yourself, you before me. But it is a life that is full of purpose and full of joy, and it's a place where you can find peace and happiness. So where are you today? Are you standing in that field of apathy, trying to decide which camp to go in? Or maybe you've already entered into a camp. Maybe you've entered into the camp of discontentment. Maybe that's where you are today. That camp that leads to darkness and destruction, like Jesus said in Matthew. Have you ever felt like you don't really fit in? Like you're kind of different than other people, like you're different than the people that are all around you? Well, maybe that's because you are. Maybe you're in the wrong camp. Maybe you are different because the Bible talks about us Christians as pilgrims, foreigners, people who don't belong. We're different. We don't belong here in Camp Discontentment.